Hello YouTube watchers. Today we are going to my buddy's house to install our new Green Stuff EBC brakes. Alright, we have received our EBC brake pads. Let's get those open real quick. Alright, oh they look so good. Alright, now we purchased the Green Stuff, which is their entry level. Okay, let's see what we got. We got 2 stickers, instruction manuals, grease, got all the installation hardware, probably a warranty card, and our brake pads. Let's check these out. Okay, so now you can see why they're called Green Stuff. Okay, let's get these on the car and see what kind of stopping power we can get. We are with the fit on the jack and the wheel off, and we'll get ready to take that caliper off.
Okay, the first thing you're going to need is a 19mm crescent wrench to hold the bolt steady, as well as a 12mm socket to take out the bolt. And you see those are kind of just hand tight. They break loose pretty easy. Once they break loose, you can pull them out by hand. You see right there, once they're loose, they come out by hand quite easily. Now, it's always a good idea to have something ready so you can support your brake caliper when you take it off. So you're going to see that I'm going to move a box into the scene and rest my caliper on that. There we go, the box is in place. And once the bolts are out, you can seriously just pull the caliper right off. And you can see both the pads exposed there. We're going to go ahead and pull off one of the pads so that we can use it to recompress the brake caliper. And you can see the shim pulled right off. And we're going to place that old brake pad back into the caliper and get our caliper spreading tool inserted. I can never get it small enough. Now, if we're doing any brake job, you probably should have a caliper spreading tool or a C-clamp so that you can recompress those calipers. If not, you're never going to get your calipers back on over the new brakes. And make sure you go slow, because you are pressing all that brake fluid backwards through the ABS system, so do it gently. Okay, it looks like I'm about there. Okay, we just pull the other brake pad out. Okay, you can see that shim that fell off. Going to pull the other pad out. Okay, let's go and check out the brake components. I'm going to reopen this box. Okay, and Matt is going to get started placing the shims on the brake pads. Now we'll do a comparison here real quick. You can see the difference in the used factory pads and the brand new EBC Green Stuff brake pads. Quite a bit of difference in thickness. So you can see that it was definitely time for a brake job. All right, let's go over and see if we can get Matt to put one of the shims on. You can see how that fits right over the edge of the brake pad. And little clips hold it on there. And you just peel the adhesive off the back and attach the shim right to the brake pad. Pretty easy stuff, and it works well. Now what he's pointing out there is a break-in period for these brakes. It's about 200 miles. There's actually printing on the brake pad itself to indicate to you when the break-in period is over. We're going to go ahead and stick to the 200-mile rule. That way we don't have to take the brake pads off again to inspect them once we think that they're there. Okay, looks like I'm going to take the pad and I'll get that one inserted in the brake caliper. Alright, just gently ease it in. Alright, looks like there's a good placement right there. Okay, let's get the other one and put the other side in. Well, let's put the grease on first. Now, EBC sends you a copper grease. Really good stuff. It's good for high temperature. You can see me applying the copper grease to the back side of the brake pad. Make sure you don't get it on your rotor or your brake pads themselves. You will definitely experience some brake fade at that point. We'll get that other brake pad in. Now, the outside one is quite a bit easier when you don't have to work around the rotor. You can see that one fit in there just fine. Let's go ahead and grease that side. And make sure you use plenty of grease on this stuff. You can't really use too much. Sorry for the shaky camera there. Okay, so we've got both sides greased up. Let's go ahead and put the caliper back on. Just put one of those bolts in by hand, get it hand tight, and then move on to the next one. Now don't forget your 19mm wrench so that you can hang on to that while you're tightening it down. And again, the bolts themselves are a 12mm, and the crescent wrench you need is a 19mm. You see those green brakes peeking through the caliper right there. Looks so pretty. Okay, you should be able to get these things tightened down to a snug hand tight. Okay, looks like the driver's side is all done. Let's get the wheel back on. And get your lugs put back on. And remember, try to move in a star pattern so you don't accidentally get your wheel on sort of cockeyed. And we'll get these things hand tight before we drop down the car. Okay, so the next step is to drop it down off the jack, and we'll come back and torque those down at the end. Okay, let's get the passenger side going. We're going to get this wheel loosened up. It helps to not jack it up all the way, that way the ground is holding the tire, it doesn't spin. Okay, looks like we got the passenger side up in the air, and let's get this wheel off completely. Now I like to store the wheel underneath the side of the car, that way just in case something happens the car drops down onto the wheel itself and you still maintain the height so you can get another jack up under there. I have actually had a car drop off of a jack before. If you haven't experienced it before and haven't had to recover from that, then well, you're really missing out. Okay, let's get this caliper off. Got that one broken loose. I'll pull that out by hand. And we'll go to the lower one. Having to use that 19mm wrench to hold on to that is actually kind of a pain. Alright, let's get our box back in place so we can rest the caliper on it. And that just slips right off. Okay, let's go ahead and take one pad out, and then we're going to use it to recompress the brake caliper. Again, we're going to use the old brake pad and the caliper spreading tool. And again, go easy on it. You don't want to put too much pressure on the ABS system. Okay, it looks like it's about there. Okay, and we got the caliper compression done. Now looking at those brake pads, it looks like the passenger side was about 2mm lower than the driver's side. Take that back brake pad out. I'm having some trouble, so I use the spreader tool to give myself some leverage to pop that thing out. Again, from looking at those brakes, it was definitely time for a brake job. And let's get the inside brake pad in. And it looks like I'm actually touching the rotor there, but I promise you I'm not. We'll do the outside brake pad. You can kind of see the angle at which I used to get them in there. Get toward the center of the hub first and work your way toward the outside. Okay, let's go ahead and grease both sides of this. Again, you can't use too much. Okay, let's move to grease the inside brake pad. Hopefully my son can find a camera angle in this challenging environment. He's doing a pretty good job. Okay, so we got the grease done. Let's get our hands wiped off, and let's get the caliper put back on. Now you're going to see the caliper almost slip off here. It's always a good idea to put in that top bolt first so that you can hold the caliper up. And again, get that top one tightened in by hand. Then you can move on to the lower one. So get that box out of the way. I have to give props to my son for trying to find a camera angle that works there. Okay, let's get these tightened down. Okay, we've got that one tightened down. We've got the wheel back on. We're going to go ahead and drop it down, and then we're going to use our torque wrench to torque both the wheels. Okay, and again, make sure that you come back with the torque wrench to torque down your wheels. You do not want your wheels to come off while you're driving. Okay, so the next thing coming up, we've got a review from after the install, and we'll see what kind of stopping power these things have.
Alright, so we're done with the brake install. The next step for us is to follow the manufacturer's instructions and fit 200 miles on this car of normal driving. So you might be asking yourself, what is normal driving? Well, we're not going out and we're not going speeding, and we're certainly not going to be braking hard because we could experience the brake fade. Okay, we passed the 200 mile mark. We're headed out to bed in our brakes. The bedding process is actually pretty simple. What you do is you speed up to about 60 miles an hour. And once you get there, you slow down to about 20 miles an hour. You do that 5 times or until you see brake fade. Then once you have brake fade, you're all done. Okay, again, so what we do is we speed up to about 60. We slow down rapidly to 20 miles an hour. Brake fade. Alright, let's go do it the other way. Quickly Alright, now let's go out for a leisurely drive and cool these brakes off. Yeah, you can totally smell it. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed my video and I hope I see you next time for a K-tuner install.